10th of March, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Got it. Hello. Okay, here we are together again.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Umari.
Oh, Shalom. Good morning, Lou. How are you? Good morning, Roy.
Good morning, Rabbi Furst.
Morning.
Shalom Aleichem to everyone. How's everyone doing? Good?
Thank God.
Okay. Hi, good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here at Yeshivat Samanafni here in Yerushalayim, care of Zoom. This is our first share in the morning. We're learning Pierke Avos along with Megillah Esther. We are in the fourth parak of Megillah Esther. And if I'm not mistaken, we should be Pasuk Ches, if I'm not the 8th verse in the 5th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Fourth chapter, right?
Oh, 4th chapter, right? Correct. For chapter 4, verse 8.
8. Can I read?
If not, and
Anybody have any objections?
okay. Go
All
ahead,
right.
Gary.
Ve'et Patishegon Katuv Hadas Asher Niten B'Shushan Lahashmidam Notan Lo. And Mordechai gave a copy of the decree that was given in Shushan. Laharos Esther, to show Esther. Ulahagid la, and to tell her, Ulitzavta, and to order her, Ulitzavas, Aleha, Levo el Hamelech, there's your Melech, Lou, his Hanein lo. Ulavakesh milfonov al ama. In order to order her to come before the king and to beseech him and to beg him for her people. Well, that's really like, seems like instructions for her to plead with Hashem.
Right.
I mean, that if there's any one pasuk that could be applied like that, that would be it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's very good. That's true. Well enough. Good. That's this pasuk is certainly lends itself to understanding the connotation of Hamelech, meaning Kodesh Baruch Hu. All right. And so Mordechai didn't want to leave any doubts in Esther's mind about what was going on here, right? Yeah. And that it was a royal decree, and she was apparently the only person in a position to do anything about it, being the queen.
Yeah, which also is a raya that she was unaware. She was isolated.
Yeah, I mean, most likely. I mean, what would the queen know about what's going on in the streets? That's
Right.
not her concern. Not her concern at all. They didn't have, but they get the royal newspaper, delivery.
Right.
So Esther is probably busy saying Tehillim all the time, no?
Sure.
Imagine so.
Although there, it usually someone like Esther would get her information from her servant girls.
Well, it's also a question of a question. How much would they know? Also, again, like I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I don't know what but the king's palace is, that's a very, very isolated place on earth. The people just don't come and go freely in such places. You know what I mean?
All right, they didn't go home at night.
I don't think so.
Ah,
I don't think so.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
if you believe the play called I Claudius, which documents the situation in the Roman Empire in the palace, the queen was extremely knowledgeable. She was basically running the country the whole time. She kept killing off all the emperors and putting her puppets in charge.
I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know if that's a model situation of what was going on, but in any event, you know, what went on in the streets was not exactly what went on in the palace. So
Yeah.
even Mordecai, if it wasn't for the fact that Mordecai was told the Gezeras what was going to happen, Mordecai wouldn't have been knowledgeable about that, right? What does it say in the Pasuk Aleph? Mordecai Yoda es kol asher na'aseh. What does that mean? Mordecai knew everything that had happened.
Yeah, but see, but over here it says in Pasuk Dalet it says Vahatovo na'aros Esther v'sadiseha v'hagidu la, and they told her what was going on. So they came and told her that Mordecai was walking around in outside in sackcloth. So they, excuse me, they had information. I mean, they did have some outside information.
Yeah, that was happening out by the Shar Melech, right?
Oh, which is also isolated, I guess. I
Yeah, I
guess
mean,
not everybody could even get to the courtyard.
I don't think so. I mean, some people,
Yeah.
someone was just telling me I was on the phone with someone yesterday. He said you know that you can't get in. I don't know how. I know that the whole compound of the White House is I don't know, is blocked off, or you can't come close to it or something like that. I don't know. I know.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Not anymore. Well, it used to be you would be able to get closer, but not anymore.
I don't think that's true. They have regular tours of the White House.
Yeah, but if you want to go on that tour, you got to go through a pretty big checkout. You just don't walk up and say, I'd like to participate in a tour. That's all prearranged with all kinds of security, and you so I don't think that's a riot that you can just wander up. There used to be the people used to go up and chain themselves to the White House fence.
Yeah, I remember as a kid I went to the White House fence, sure. Yeah, I remember talking to the police.
Yeah, and there was people there used to be a time when people would go and to protest something, like there's not enough televisions in America, so they would chain themselves to the White House fence. Can't do that anymore.
Let's use a better example. Paro, it required miracles from Moshe and Aaron to get into the palace of Paro. There were lions and bears and all kinds of wild beasts that surrounded the palace. There was probably these cows. They had moats around them with the alligators and all kinds of things like this.
Sure.
It no joke. Barry, you remember what the Fort
Knox. Yeah,
Fort
when
Knox
I was
about.
when I was a guard in Fort Knox, I never even saw the building.
Yeah, even the guards couldn't get close.
I was so far away from the building, I couldn't even see it. There was fences and then more fences and fences. I was one of the outer fences.
Yeah, that's right.
And but I always looked around just in case there was a gold brick laying around. You never knew. You know what I mean? Could be nice. Some fell out of a truck or something. But no luck.
All right, look. Parnasa comes from Shemayim, so it comes one way or the other. Okay. So that's, so it required here a very, forceful act on the part of Mordecai to make Esther aware of what actually was going on here, right? And he took it very seriously. He wanted her to take it very seriously. Let's say, next
Can I
part.
ask one other question? What does it mean when it says he ordered her?
Yeah,
It's
sure,
not like ulitzavot
right,
aleha. I
right.
mean, that's like pretty direct.
Oh, so we'll see. We'll see why. There's going to be an exchange between Mordecai and Esther now. The psukim are going to describe the exchange that took place between Mordecai and Esther. Take a look at the next passage. We'll see.
Okay. Vayavo'u hatach vayigud laEsther et divrei Mordechai. And Hatach came and he told Esther what Mordechai had said.
Oh, okay.
Should I go on? Vatomer?
Yeah, that's right.
Vatomer Esther the Hatach. And Esther said the Hatach. Vatazavehu el Mordechai, and she ordered him to tell Mordechai.
Oh, so now she hears what Mordecai said, right? And now this is going to be the response of Esther, right?
Which pasuk are we on?
That's
Yud
in
Aleph.
Yud.
Oh, Yud Aleph. Thank you.
Yud Aleph, right?
Okay.
Now this is what she told him to tell Mordechai. Kol avdei hamelech va'am medinas hamelech yid'im asher kol ish ve'isha asher yavo el hamelech el hachotzer hapnimit asher lo yukore achad v'daso lahamis er v'yoshet lo hamelech es sarbit hazohav v'ani lo nikresi levo el hamelech zeh shaloshim yom. All the king's servants and all the people of the king's provinces know that any man or woman who comes to the king into the inner court who is not summoned, there is one law: put to death, except the one to whom the king extends the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been summoned to come to the king these 30 days.
Right. So don't think just because Esther is the queen that they had a chummy relationship. 30
Yeah.
days. That's a long time not to see a person's wife or queen. You would think, what's doing with the queen? I mean, Ahasuerus was so enchanted with Esther at the beginning, no?
Yeah, but he had 300 other wives. What did you know?
Well, I mean, but still, he picked her out of the best out of all, So,
Yeah.
but here 30 days goes by, right? And it's now a sakana. It's a sakana for Esther to go in. If she had been called in within 30 days, I guess so she has a pass. She had a 30-day pass, can come and go. Right? But in 30 days she hasn't been called. So that's serious. And now Mordecai is telling you to go into the king, like so you're gonna come in and bring some coffee and donuts for breakfast that morning, But that's not gonna go. She says this is royal protocol over here. You're expecting me to break the royal protocol.
I always understood it differently. I understood that what she was saying to him was, he hasn't called me for 30 days, so he's probably going to call me pretty soon anyway. If I wait until he calls me, then I'm not taking any risk.
That's one aspect of it. But what she was really saying was that this is a situation of sakana for her personally.
Yeah.
The main point is she's saying this is a situation of sakana. You're asking me to risk my own life here. You know, that according to the law, she's now risking her life, right? You understand that, okay, well, I mean, maybe Esther knew how often she would get to see Achashverosh. It was every 33 days. So she could have said, you know, I'm on schedule in 3 days from now, right? Was it unusual that they didn't see each other for 30 days? I have no idea. I don't know. I have to look at the diary of Achashverosh and see what he writes in terms of what he's, you know, when did he get last to see Queen Esther, you know? So, yeah, so what goes on in Pasuk Yud Beis? Now the exchange continues.
Vayagidu leMordechai et divrei Esther, and they told Esther's words to Mordechai.
Oh, so I mean, Mordechai sends a message, and then Esther's told about the message, and Esther says the response, and then Mordecai's told about the response. Okay, so now what's now Mordecai's response to Esther's response? Yud Gimel.
Vayomer Mordechai lahashiv et Esther al tedame benafshech lehimolet beit hamelech mikol haYehudim. And Mordechai ordered to reply to Esther, do not imagine yourself that you will escape from the king's house from among all the Jews. Okay.
So now that
You're included in. You're included in.
So he was really saying that what we're saying in Gemara language, Mamonashach. Mamonashach, you're going to be doomed, right? You're going to be doomed this way or doomed that way. There's no difference. The only difference is because there was time. I mean, if the Gezerah was only supposed to be enacted in 11 months from now, right? In 11 months from now. So, and that's what Lou was explaining a little bit. So the question was, Esther could be saying, well, what's the rush? We've got time, right? We've got time here, right? Have 11 months to work on softening Achashverosh up and changing the decree in some way, perhaps, or whatever, right? And so she was perhaps like trying to make an argument for it's not so necessarily so that I have to go in right away, right? Let's take a look at the next pasuk.
And Mordecai's response seems awfully harsh and disrespectful to Esther. He seems to be implying that she has very improper motive, that she's going to hide out in the king's house and escape. It belittles her. I'm very surprised that he doesn't just say to her, the second part of it. Perhaps this is why you've been put there, so that you should do this, and not say all this stuff about don't think you're going to escape.
No, I think that's a misinterpretation. Mordecai was telling her with these words that this is an absolute gezerah on each and every Jew, no matter who and what they are, even the queen in the king's palace. So that's what that was the whole lahashmi, laharig, la'abed called. There was going to be no exceptions made here. So he was explaining to her the depth and the extent of the gezerah, that it was absolute. That was his kavanah here.
But don't you think she knew that?
She didn't know anything about this. That was the whole point. She had no idea about what's going on.
And how complete it was.
That's what he was explaining to her. This is nobody, even the queen in the king's palace is not going to escape this gezerah.
But it says in Pasuk 8, it says that he sent a copy of the decree that showed that they were going to destroy everybody.
That's right. Now he's
So
emphasizing. it.
doesn't she know at that point what the situation is?
Reading something is one thing, and hearing it from Mordecai is another thing.
But no one knew that she was Jewish.
That's also true. No one knew she hadn't. That's why Mordecai told her not to reveal her nationality. That's one thing also. Very good, Roy. Yeah. She might think she hasn't been revealing her nationality, so maybe there's a way that she can not be affected by this terrible gezerah. Let's see the next pasuk. So what happens now?
Yudal. Ki'im acharish acharishi be'et hazot levach tzala ya'amod li'udim mimikomo acher ve'et ve'ves avicha v'tovedu umi yodaim le'es kozov he got the malchus.
Oh,
If you keep quiet at this time, relief and rescue will arise for the Jews from elsewhere, and you and your father's household will perish. And who knows whether at a time like this you will attain the kingdom. I don't know what's this about. He got the malchus.
meaning
What does that mean?
it's not known even for this moment in time. It's not known if for this moment in time you had now been achieved the malchus. You were chosen to be the queen. It's not known, right? Or it could be like a rhetorical question. Is it not now known to you that this is the reason why you've been chosen to be queen?
And if she doesn't act, she's going to lose her schus.
That's the beginning sentence, right? Where
Yeah.
will be destroyed. And now that whether that's something would be in part because of the gezerah of Haman, or that's going to be something else min shemayim, that you have to see the meforshim exactly what they explain. Why is this a special? Don't forget, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mordecai was included in the prophets. He was a prophet. And he's not simply speaking, he's giving prophecy now. Right? So
Okay.
good. Let's continue on now. So
Okay.
what's the
But don't-
response of Esther to this?
But Tomer Esther, the Hashiv El Mordechai, and she commanded a reply to Mordechai. Lech kenos el kol hayudim hanimsaim b'Shushan v'tsumo alai al tochlu v'al tishto shaloshim yomim laila v'yom gam ani narotai otzum kain uvechein over el hamelech asher lo koras kasher avadati. Go assemble all the Jews who are present in Shushan and fast on my behalf, and don't drink or eat for 3 days, day and night. So it's not like a day fast. This is like 24/7 for 3 days, right?
Right.
Also, I and my maidens will fast in the same way. Oh, so that means her maidens were Jewish. Then I will go to the king, contrary to the law, and if I perish, I perish.
right? She was-
Wow.
she
Okay.
accepted
Why does
more-
it say if I perish, I perish? Usually we learn out when there's a double phrase like this, it means in this world and the world to come.
Yeah, there are, you have to see the drushes on this 1 second. If you want to know, we can find out. There are definitely drushes on this pasuk.
I mean, I perish as a Jewess and as a queen.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, oh, there's a commentary here in the Judaica.
mhm.
It says that if she's lost to her father's house, so I will be lost to you. For from now on that I am submitting willingly to a heathen, I will be forbidden to you.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's the Gemara. The Gemara in Megilla, according to those opinions, that Esther was married to
Mordechai.
Mordecai. So just as she's going to be, she's a Vaditi, she was lost from her father's house, and she's also going to be lost forever from Mordecai. That's
In other words, the first time she was with Achashverosh, basically it was unwillingly. But
right.
now if she has to go and seduce his feelings to try to get him to change his mind, that's
Right.
that's being unfaithful to her husband, right? And that's adultery.
Right. She's being active. Up until
Right.
now, she's been passive. And so being
Right.
passive, she's not usher. But if she becomes active, now she becomes forbidden to her husband, right?
Is it a better translation of avaditi to say, if I am lost, I am lost?
As opposed to what a perish.
As opposed to perish.
Yeah, lost is probably lost.
I had to get the door, sorry.
Yeah.
Coming.
Wow.
Right. Right. That's the basic Pashut understanding of Aditi, that she would become lost not only from as she was previously to her family, her blood relatives, and she also now is going to be lost to her husband as well. Right. That's the basic shot. Right. Okay. Let's see. Continue to fight there.
Good Zion, Bavur Mordechai. The eyes, Kachol Asher Tivsa, a love Esther. So Mordechai passed and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. All right.
Right. Okay. Very good. Okay. Pierke.
Vayehi Bayom Hashlishi, and it came to be on the third day. That was after 3 days of fasting, right?
Right.
Batilbash Esther Malchus the Tamod Bechotzar Beis Hamelech Apnimim Nochach Beis Hamelech VeHamelech Yoshev Al Kisei Malkisi Malchuto Bebeis Hamalchus Nochach Petach Habayit.
Pesach Habayis.
Habayit. It came Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther clothed herself regally, and she stood in the inner court of the king's house, opposite the king's house, and the king was sitting on his royal throne in the royal palace, opposite the entrance of the house. So this was a big complex. He had his own house.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Of course, this is a palace. Yeah, of course. Who knows how
I mean,
many?
he had a big, the whole grounds of the whole thing was it was like a city in itself.
That's right. Of course, that's the way it has to be. You know, it's a whole
Wow.
compound. It was definitely a whole compound, right? So you see that this is the third day, right? And in the meantime, everyone's been fasting, right? And it's the third day of fasting here. And so Esther is now preparing to go into the king.
Mm,
Not only that, the king was sitting Yosef al Kisei Malchusai, right? He was,
on the throne.
why is it necessarily we have to be? What's the first thing have to emphasize? The fact that king was sitting on the throne.
Because you can't approach him if he's on his throne.
Mhm. Very good. That's right. The king. That's the Medrash explains that Shlomo Melech had a special throne built, that he had different wild, dangerous animals going up the steps leading to the throne. And anybody that tried to even approach the throne would be accosted and maimed and even maybe killed by these tremendous, ferociously fierce wild animals.
But they were not live, right? They were mechanical.
How they worked, I'm not sure how they worked. They
Oh.
worked Homer Melech and how they worked. I'm not sure how they worked. I don't think they were mechanical, but they were instilled with the spirit to be able to function. So yeah, you just don't just approach the king when he's on his throne.
Wow.
Okay, let's see now. Pausing base.
Vayi kirot hamelech es Esther hamalka omedet b'chotzer nasa hein b'anav v'yoshet hamelech Esther et sharbit hazohav asher b'yada v'tikrav Esther v'tiga berosh hasharbit. And it came to pass when the king saw Esther standing in the court that she won favor in his eyes. And the king extended to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand, and Esther approached and touched the end of the scepter.
Right.
So he didn't. So okay. He could have sentenced her to death.
Well, yeah, simply by not extending the scepter, that would have been the end of her, right?
Wow.
But,
He had all these guards around him.
yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. He took her life in her hands.
Exactly. Okay, let's continue on.
Vayomer la hamelech ma loch Esther hamalka ma bikashtech al chatzi hamalchus hein loch. And the king said to her, what concerns you, Queen Esther? And what's your request? Even to half the kingdom, it will be given to you. Well, he was in a good mood.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. So now begins the exchange. Now that she's been accepted before the king, right? And now, actually, it's the king is very seemingly very gracious. He's opening up to give Esther the opportunity she was fasting for. Take a look further.
So go on.
Yes.
Solid. Okay. Vatomer Esther. Im al hamelech tov. Yova hamelech v'chanan. Hayom. El hamishte asher ositi lo. And Esther said, if it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet that I have prepared for him. I would imagine that the king is wondering, like, what does she need Haman there for? I'm her husband.
Well, obviously, let me, before that, how did Esther know that Haman was involved with this whole plot?
It was probably in the decree, right?
You could assume that. I don't know if we have any proof for that. Why would you have to mention it's a royal decree? I think it would be disrespectful to the king to put anybody else's name in the decree except for the king.
Yeah, good question.
Excuse me, I don't think Haman's name was in the decree, but my question is, how did Esther come up with this idea? This is a very creative idea. Who gave it to her?
Well, like all ideas, the Kadosh Baruch gives dasus vuna, right? The first bracha were bakashas of Shmon Esrei is Hashem should give us dasus vuna, seichel. Without Hashem, a person doesn't have a thought. Without this Kadosh Baruch Hu putting the thoughts into a person's mind, right? That person has to thank Kadosh Baruch Hu that you're able to think and think straightly and understand his own thoughts.
Right.
Sometimes people are confused and they have difficulty concentrating. They have difficulty understanding things. It's not to be taken for granted. Baruch Hashem, person's very blessed if he's able to think about the most basic things. And now, so
It's very,
If you look back at chapter 4, verse 7, it says there that Mordecai told Hatak all that had happened and the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king. So that's probably where she knew that Haman was involved.
so very good. So if
Yeah, thank you. Great.
right, if she had been told all those things, so she knows the whole background. I mean, again, Mordecai himself only knew those things through Nevuah, right? He knew, or the Kadosh Baruch Hu was Megilla those things to Mordecai through Nevuah. So there's a rule when a prophet has a prophecy, he's obligated to say that prophecy in its entirety. So he knew that this was a prophecy that was coming to him, to know what was going on behind the scenes there, and so he realized that this is important. Whatever they're showing him in his Shemayim is important not only for him, it's important for Klal Yisrael. So Esther also got her knowledge from what Mordecai told Esther, and Mordecai got his knowledge from that Giluim in his Shemayim, that revelation that he had from Shemayim. Okay, very good.
also, what's very interesting is the invitation, Yavo Hamelech v'Haman Hayom. The first letter of each word spells out Hashem's name.
In each one of those words, again, which words were those?
It says, Yavo Hamelech, let
Yes.
the king come, the Haman Hayom, and Haman today.
Uh-huh.
So the first letter, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So I guess Hashem was with her
Oh, yes. Very
in the
good.
invitation.
Okay. Fine. Beautiful. Perfect. Very good. Very good.
Hey.
Thank you. Okay. Next passage. Very good.
Vayomer Hamelech Maharu et Haman, Lasos es kol diber Esther, vayavo hamelech v'Haman el hamishte asher asa Esther. And the king said, rush to Haman to do Esther's bidding. And the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Oh, very good.
So now we're at the banquet.
Right, okay, and now we're gonna have to stop. Time's run out.
Uh,
So we'll take a few minute break and we'll continue with the Mishnah Brewer. And tomorrow, Erev Shabbos, yes. Tomorrow Erev Shabbos, Bezrat Hashem, we'll talk maybe, either we'll talk about the Parsha or we'll talk about Parsha Zachor. Either one, they're both very important.
Okay.
Bezrat Hashem.
Well, everybody should be paying attention to their email tomorrow morning because I have a doctor's appointment and I might have to turn it over to Rabbi Furst to run the class.
Okay.
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 Bezrat Hashem.
All right, thank you.
We'll see what we- Roy, have a good
Okay.
afternoon. And
Thank you
everyone
very
else will stop temporarily. See you all in a few minutes.